Whose turn is it?
See you, man.
It's up.
Alright. So with Superman, it's obvious that Superboy is being trained and he's being introduced into this new world. How do you see Superman providing that parental role to Superboy?
Well, I mean, for me, I think he relates to where Jonathan is coming from. You know, probably going back to when he first discovered his own powers and realizing that everything has changed, but not everything has changed. You know, your place in the world in it, or his place in the world has a little bit, but it's also about just staying grounded, right? Remembering that you're in a house where your mom and your dad love you, and as these things start to present themselves, you know, they'll handle it as a family. So I think that's one of the really beautiful things of the film is seeing the bombastic personality of a Lois Lane, the invulnerable, you know, Superman, who's not able to handle the situation or erase all of his son's problems as well.
All right.
Hi, Muslim Iggy. I know there's been many voice actors who've played Superman.
Oh yeah.
And now you being among one of them, like, what was the challenge for you being able to handle that pressure?
My biggest challenge was just learning to trust my own voice. I have such a heralded and sort of I admire the character so much that when I first started to play it, Wes Gleason, our voice director, was like, "Hey, I know you did Superman for Lego, which is a funnier, more, you know, kind of again, bombastic type of character. He's like, just drop it down and be normal." And he's like, more than that, just talk to your wife and then pretend like you're talking to your son, which was really a really cool note to get from Wes, but he also knows us really well. So, you know, I think the thing that's so interesting about this film is it's your first look at how he relates to his son and how vulnerable that makes someone who is so invulnerable on the outside. And that was really fun to play that softness, but also be that available father for Jonathan. Yeah.
One of the undertone themes in this movie was balancing, you know, your work life with, you know, fatherhood, like, you know, Clark missing the baseball game and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to speak to that part of the movie and, you know, the challenges that Superman has being a super dad.
Yeah, I mean, just as not necessarily a new dad anymore, our son is 4, but, you know, one of the things that happens with such a busy schedule is that there are some times where you can't make it home and sometimes when it's a choice. And I think after the fact, you realize that you don't get that time back. It's a little bit different for Superman. If there's a tsunami approaching Japan, then you gotta go, right? But I think also, you know, with those kind of conflicts of time and responsibility, you have to communicate, right? From a parent to a son and from a son to a parent, that's the best way to just make sure that everything's out in the open. So, you know, for me, I always come home, I make sure my son knows that I love him, I say I love you, make sure he knows that he's the most important thing in the world to me, even if it's going to be a long day or anything like that. So I think watching, you know, two very busy people such as Clark Kent and Lois Lane, making sure their son knows that, hey, if I can be back for a baseball game, I will. It won't happen every time, but know that even if I'm missing it, I'm thinking about you while it's going. Hi.
I was going to ask, being that you voiced like Knuckles and like Mustang, how you differentiate kind of got to that. So I'll ask you, are you allowed to say one of your favorite lines of dialogue?
Oh boy. From the film? Oh gosh. I did like when Batman and Superman, they bring their sons together in the Batcave, and he was like, kind of reminds me of when we first met. And Batman's like, I was nicer. You know, Troy Baker, who plays Batman, has for a lot of time. I love Troy. Shout out to Troy. Why are you not here? He's super busy. Speaking of time commitments, it was great playing with him because we're good friends. We also have sons that were born 2 months apart. So it was really great for us, just as hokey dads, to be able to, you know, raise a glass after we finished recording, and you know, him do his best Superman performance and me to do my best, his best Batman and my best Superman, and just to get to see that on film. We are also going to use it as leverage on our sons in the coming years, so that when there's an argument, we can just say, hey, listen, you got to listen to your dads. We're superheroes. Yeah, right. You're welcome.
What's the best parenting advice you've ever gotten?
Best parenting advice I ever got was keep your sense of humor. It was right before my son was born, and somebody looked at us, and I just had a real relaxed, you know, easy-go-lucky attitude about it all, and she was like, can I give you a piece of advice? I was like, sure. She goes, keep your sense of humor. I was like, what does that mean? She goes, it's going to go upside down and backwards real fast, sometimes without any warning. And when that happens, just like keep your cool and remember to find a way to laugh about it afterwards. And sure enough, everybody that's a parent that's had a kid knows that it happens immediately and you don't feel completely out of control. And the best thing you can do is find a way to laugh about it, keep your family close, and remember that you learn something even from some of the worst of times. So that was, I thought, really, really poignant.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Travis Terrell.
Hey, Terrell.
Look, I'm just here to talk about D&D. I don't know if you guys
Yes.
get all this. But recording the role for Superman, do you feel like with your family and everything, like you felt like the emotion started to creep in with this role, like it would hit you real hard at certain scenes?
100%. Kind of like a surprise sucker punch, right? Because I was coming in, I wanted to do my Superman performance, give a nice barrel-chested, deep sound, and then Wes came in and he knew that we were new parents, and he's like, what does it sound like if you're saying it to your son? And I was like, Wes, what are you doing to me, man? Don't make me think of my son. So it was nice. We got to play with, the vulnerability there. What's it like talking to your son? Superman going back in those years, remembering what it was like for himself, and also just the uncertainty because it's not happening in the same way. It happened for him when he was very, very young. Jonathan's much, much older, and just what it means for the future. I got to talk to Laura about this too. I was like, there's going to be a time when, our son moves away, and she was like, not for a long time. It's not for a long, long time. He's going to stay tiny and cuddly for forever. So it was just a nice peek into the future for us, and really special for us as parents to be able to, give part of ourselves to that performance.
On your opinion, what should Superman learn from his son?
I think what Superman would learn from his son is that, he sees the world on both a micro and a macro scale, right? He can see everything all at once, or he can, zoom in with his vision and see the tiniest detail. And I think when he's considering all of those things all at once, it's also amazing to just focus on a singular story, his son, that's his own flesh and blood, and just remembering that, those things can't be neglected when you're considering the world as a whole. So it's really about bringing it back to the family under the roof and making sure that that family is as protected as, his country or the world is. And so I think that kind of push and pull of responsibility is pretty interesting.
I've spoken to many actors who put on the Superman costume and felt that was transformative. Somehow they look at a role and everybody looks at them different. Just voicing the character, is there some of that, the fact that you're voicing Superman?
100%. I wore pajamas that had a Superman S while I was recording. No, just kidding. But yeah, just doing that voice, you naturally, you want to, sit up straight in the session. You want to have your shoulders back, give a nice booming record, and it happens every time we get to do it. Yeah.
Thanks, Travis.
Thanks, guys. I picked like that.